is about the law and people.
That is not a legal defense, let me tell you.
And how people can resolve and better themselves.
Justice with passion.
I knew I was going to go into law because I always defended everybody. I was always the one who found a solution and tried to resolve the problem by having people talk to each other.
Justice with truth.
So I'm giving you one more chance to tell me the truth.
This is Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Sandy Olson is suing Philip Reed in the amount of $1,000. Ms. Olson claims Mr. Reed intentionally burned her oil painting. Mr. Reed claims he and the plaintiff are even because Ms. Olson's dog ruined his leather jacket.
Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Cristina Perez presiding. Please be seated. All parties have been sworn in, Your Honor.
Thank you, Bernard. Ms. Gomez, I understand you are suing the defendant because he destroyed a valued possession of yours.
That's right.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm here because Philip would stay over at my house a lot, and he's actually my witness's ex-boyfriend.
So you and your witness are roommates?
Yes, we are roommates.
And Philip, you, Mr. Reed, you were dating
Tiffany.
Her roommate?
Tiffany, yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. Okay.
All right, and he would always have something to say about my house. I have 2 cats and a dog, and, you know, obviously I get cat hair everywhere, dog hair, you name it. And he always seemed to have a problem with, you know, the dishes being there or me not vacuuming. When it was my house, he never paid any bills or helped out in any type of way with electricity, gas, water, you name it. And one Saturday, I was just relaxing. Tiff and I are both students. We're nursing students. So between school and work, we really don't have time to keep up with the house.
So why don't you go ahead and stand up, Miss Bailey, because I'm sure I'm gonna need to speak to you. So then what happened, Ms. Gomez? Why are we here suing Mr. Reed for $1,000?
I was relaxing with all my pets on a Tuesday, and Philip comes over and he starts telling me that I need a vacuum and that I need to wash the dishes and that the bathroom is filthy. And he just starts going off on me. And at this point, I'm like, why am I even talking to you? You don't even live here. You don't even pay anything. So I brought Tiff in and I was like, you know what? Just tell him to relax and to just lay off, you know?
And that's when I came in and I, you know, told Sandy, let's go out for drinks. And I told him that he had to leave because we couldn't have this keep going on and on because it's constant.
And you told him to leave?
Yeah, I told him to leave since it was, you know, getting too hostile. I was like, you know, you have to leave.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Gomez.
So we went out for a drink and we come back and I pull up into our driveway and in the dumpster, I see my prized possession, which is a painting, an oil painting that my grandmother painted for me before she passed away, before I was even born.
And you see that in the garbage?
And I not only see it in the garbage, it's actually burned.
Wow.
And she, like, originally told him about the painting, so I felt like, you know, it was so petty for him
So
to
you
do.
knew that this painting was something important to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever value this painting, Ms. Gomez? Did you ever have somebody appraise it just to see?
I didn't, but this wasn't the only painting that she had. She had many paintings, and they all sold for over $1,000
Oh,
easy.
really? Do you have any evidence of that?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any evidence of that?
Yeah, my mom's got a few of them, and she's got the receipts that I could show you.
All right. Do you think you can get those to us? Because I'd like to look at those.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Reed, so then what happened?
Okay, so the night in counting, you know, I walked in with Tiff. She was sitting on the couch like she always does. You know, bowls everywhere, you know, dog running around in circles, and no one was arguing. I went into the bathroom, toothpaste was on the mirror. I kind of lost it, you know, because Tiffany said, oh my gosh. So I went and approached her. I said, hey, you know, why can't you clean up? I understand it's your day off, but you don't have to live like a pig. And so
You said that to your girlfriend or to
No,
me?
I said that to Miss Cindy.
Okay.
Coming up on Justice for All.
I went to get my jacket, and I realized there was a stain on my jacket. And it was a urine stain from her dog.
How do you know it was a urine stain?
Because her dog jumped on the couch.
And later.
If you knew you normally shared your tips this way in this manner, which, you know, is very consistent with the labor code, why didn't you share your tip on this day, the $10,000 tip?
Closed captioning provided by. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Justice for All is back with the case of Sandy Olson, who is suing Philip Reed for property damage.
So you said to her, why don't you clean up?
Yeah, I asked her why didn't she clean up after herself. And that struck an argument with her. She got up, she started yelling.
But I mean, you really had no right to tell her what to do in her apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then you were frustrated by that. You guys started fighting, and what happened?
Okay, so like I said, the little dog started running around in circles like he always do. So that sparked the argument. She started yelling out, oh, well, you don't pay no bills here. She's talking to Tiff saying, oh, I'm tired of having a third roommate. And she kept, she kept going on and on and on.
Logical, very viable.
And I said, well, Tiffany doesn't complain that I'm here. And I guess that what really struck her button. So she started yelling, and then that's when Tiffany came to me and she said, hey, look, can you leave? And I was already gonna leave. I was just downloading some files on my computer and I was gonna leave. So they left. When they left, my stuff finished downloading. I went and got my flash drive. I went to get my jacket, and I realized there was a stain on my jacket. And it was a urine stain from her dog.
How do you know it was a urine stain?
Because her dog jumped on the couch. And then I seen it, and then I smelt it, and it smelled like urine.
Did you take it dry cleaners right away?
Yes, well, I went and tried to take it to, the dry cleaner, but this is the best that they can do.
Oh, the
so it
dark
still has a
spot.
stain on it? Yes, ma'am. So after I seen that, I got furious. And I was just like, okay, what can I do to get even? So I was looking around the house. I walked into her messy room.
No, you didn't.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I did. I know it sounds childish,
Please
but
tell
at that
me
time
you
I was
didn't do
furious.
that.
So I went into her messy room. I seen her oil painting that she had told me about. She sat me down and had a conversation and how much sentimental
You
value
really
it
had the presence of mind to grab that oil painting and burn it and throw it in the garbage?
Actually, I didn't throw it in the garbage. I burned it first.
Wow.
Yes. And after that, I felt like we were even.
Did you ever think what you were doing before you did it?
At that time, no. I had just looked at my jacket.
I mean,
My
come
mom
on,
had
you
just
can
bought me this
clean
jacket.
a jacket. You cannot replace an oil painting a dead grandmother did. I mean,
Understand
did you
that?
think about that?
But again, my jacket has
I
sentimental
mean, you are
value.
a smart young man. What would possess you to lose your temper in such a way, in such an embarrassing way?
Well, my mom just bought me the jacket for my birthday, and I really wanted this jacket. So it got messed up.
Well, then you do what a normal adult person would do. Hey, Sandy, your dog peed on my jacket. Can you please clean it, fix it, get it something done, do something to fix it? What would you have done if he said
I would have taken it to the dry cleaners, bought him a new one,
But at that time, we had just gotten an argument. I snapped. I know it's kind of childish, but that's the only thing that I could think about was burning something that was sentimental value to her.
That's not a solution. That's not a solution. I mean, you are sitting here, right sound, right mind, everything saying, I did it on purpose. I intentionally do it. I was mad. I was so mad. Not apologetic, not ashamed, nothing. You were mad, and you're going to get back at her.
Yes, ma'am. And if the dog peed on my jacket, I'll do it again.
You just did my job for me. I don't even have to go through any elements. You knew what you were doing. You intentionally did it. You burned it. You proved every single element for me.
But what about my jacket?
Mr. Reed, I don't know what to tell you about your jacket. I have one claim in front of me, one lawsuit.
I do have receipts.
The plaintiff suing the defendant for the destruction of personal property, where the defendant has actually admitted to intentionally destroying and burning that property. Now, Bernard, can you go get me the emails that her mom sent to make sure the value of the painting? And she valued it at $1,000. It was a family heirloom. It was something that you knew that was important to her. It was her personal property that you completely intentionally destroyed. So, Ms. Gomez, I do see here that your grandmother, the most expensive, from these receipts, the most expensive one she sold was actually almost $2,200. The lowest was about $1,000, a little bit over $1,000. And they were the same size as the picture. Do you have what is left of it, Bernard? Can you see that? Can you show that to me? Wow. The only duty we have to each other is just to act like a reasonable person. That's it. That's all that's expected. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like the way I smell. You don't have to like the way I clean my house. You may think I'm the worst pet owner. I don't care. But just act reasonable. That's it. Reasonable and respectfully. That's it. And you failed on those two ways in the worst way possible. The worst way possible. It's very sad. So based on the evidence, I will go ahead and grant the plaintiff's claim for $1,000.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $1,000.
I'm sorry about your pain. I paid for it, but my jacket is still ruined.
What happened to your jacket was an accident. What you did to my painting was deliberate.
Coming up on Justice for All.
If you knew you normally shared your tips this way in this manner, which you know is very consistent with the labor code, why didn't you share your tip on this day, the $10,000 tip?
Closed captioning provided by. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Blake Rose is suing Jessica Lehman in the amount of $1,000. Mr. Rose claims Ms. Lehman was given a huge tip, but she failed to compensate her co-workers. Ms. Lehman claims she earned the money fair and square, and she doesn't want to pay up.
Ms. Lehman, I understand that, you hear about this in the news, you know, when somebody gets a big tip. You got a really big tip. You're a waitress, is that correct?
I sure did, yes.
How much was the tip?
$10,000.
Oh, my God. Was this from a customer that was a regular? Why don't you tell me about this?
Yes, on that evening, it was actually a couple, a very wonderful couple. It was a very busy night. Unfortunately, we were jam-packed and understaffed. That evening, my manager here, Blake, was the bartender because the bartender had called in sick, and there was one busser and one other waitress.
Okay.
I had 8 tables that were jam-packed, one after the other. I was very busy, and this wonderful couple was privy to that. They watched me bus. They watched me bartend at times when he was supposed to. I ran the food. I basically had many hats that evening. And you know, at the end of the day, they sat me down and they said, look, we won the lotto and we are actually paying it forward this evening. You were the 3rd person we want to approach. You were very hardworking and we see that, and I think you deserve this $10,000 cash.
Wow.
And I immediately, yes, wow.
So did you tell your boss, your manager right away what had happened, or what did you do?
I did not.
And what is the restaurant's policy on, like, pooling tips? What do you guys normally do when there's a large tip, or who are the tips extended to? I know, obviously we have certain codes in the state, but what is your practice?
The policy of the restaurant, which I have right here if you'd like to see it, it's tip out to the support staff, the bussers, the bartender.
Did you know that that's what you guys do?
Yes,
with
in
the
fact,
tips? Okay,
yeah,
no
I'm
problem.
well aware of this practice.
Then what was different about this day then, Mr. Rose?
She received a large tip. She didn't tell me. I only found out because the busboy had overheard and saw the exchange, and he was ecstatic. He even went and talked to the couple that had given this money and was, very appreciative of them as well, assuming that he would get,
his fair take.
A portion of this. Yeah.
Coming up.
If you knew you normally shared your tips this way in this manner, which is very consistent with the labor code, why didn't you share your tip on this day?
Closed captioning provided by. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Justice for All is back with the case of Blake Rose, who is suing Jessica Lehman for $1,000.
If you knew you normally shared your tips this way in this manner, which is very consistent with the labor code, why didn't you share your tip on this day, the $10,000 tip?
That's exactly the reason, because this, to me, is not a tip. This was a gift. I tipped out 10% of all the tips I received that night from the tables. It wasn't written on their check, on this wonderful couple's check. This was given to me separately. I even have a note that says...
Did they give you a tip on top of that?
No, no.
How did they pay their bill? With a credit card, cash?
They paid with their credit card, yes.
And they did not leave a tip on the credit card
They did not leave a tip on the credit card, no.
Did they put zero on the tip?
It was just a line.
Why didn't you assume that the envelope wasn't a tip?
I assumed it because of the note specifying that this was for me, that I deserved it, and that...
What did the note say? Why don't you give me the note? Go ahead and give that to her, but tell me what the note said.
Yes, it says, "Great work, Jessica. You deserve this." Not Ben, not Blake, me.
Okay.
Ben and Blake were nowhere to be seen, and they saw...
Great work, Jessica. You deserve this. So that's basically a tip. Why else do you think the busboy would go up to them and say thank you?
That was the first time that we saw him that evening, and he had no prior interaction with them that he should have had.
But But listen, Jessica, you understand and you just agree to, and that you've done in the past, that at this restaurant you share your tips with anybody who's in the direct chain of service, such as a busboy, a bartender, a host. Of course. So you've admitted that that's what you've done before in the past. Of course. Okay, and now you're countersuing for $120. Why?
I am. I do have. Yes, I do give you the pay stub. Because I have yet to receive my wages from that night.
Why didn't you pay her for that day? For that shift?
She did not follow the policies of the restaurant to pay out 10%.
Yeah, but one thing has nothing to do with the other unless you notify her that I'm deducting that from this. Did you just...
I wanted to settle this matter before settling that.
Judge Perez's verdict when Justice for All returns. Promotional consideration provided by...
While other companies are raising their rates.
Mr. Rose, one has nothing to do with the other. The tip policy is one thing, and the fact that she worked and actually worked her shift, that she deserves to be paid as an employee, is another. So you can't withhold one for the other. So I will grant your counterclaim of $120, as I have evidence that you clocked in and you did not receive anything. So that's something, and I'm sure your owner would be ashamed and would be probably, you know, she could have filed something against the business for failing to pay wages. Now, it's established that in our state, and you have already agreed to it, that you share tips. You pool the tips and you share them with anybody who is in the direct chain of service. Yes. That includes your servers, your bartenders, your hosts, anybody who's a busboy, any of that nature. But Your Honor, on that day, when you received that $10,000 tip, you had to share that percentage that you normally do with that person, with the busser, the host, etc. How much do you usually share in your tips? Is it 10% for them, or what is it?
It is 10%, but where does it state that this wad of $10,000 was a tip? There's no legal document that said it was a tip. But under your opinion, under their opinion?
It was a tip. Under my authority, it was a tip. They came in, they gave you service, and they gave you a tip. They gave you a very generous tip, but it was a tip. So what you're trying to do, I understand. You're being selfish. You want to keep $10,000. I get that.
I have to disagree.
But you cannot ignore what your past practice to this. So, and you're lucky because in some jurisdictions it might be more than 10%. So you owe them $1,000. And you have a right to make sure that it does not go to Mr. Rose because he does not, obviously he's not privy to that.
I agree to that.
Based on the evidence, I will grant the plaintiff's claim of $1,000 for the business. It's not an individual thing. He's here representing the restaurant. The restaurant has a right, since prior practice that you've done before, to obtain 10% of that tip, which is $1,000. But at the same time, I'm also granting your claim of $120 for wages that were not paid on that day. So the plaintiff gets a grand total of, what, $880? And that's it, okay? Good luck to you both.
All rise.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $880.
I'm glad I won this for the restaurant, but you should have known it was a tip and followed protocol.
Look, I can see her point about it being a tip. I'm just glad it's going to the restaurant and not you.
This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.